Sic semper tyrannis. Yes, people, finally. The Cuban dictator, Fidel Castro, is finally dead, dead, dead. Yes, so he'll be roasting alongside the likes of Hitler, Stalin, Chairman Mao, Hugo Chavez, and even that of his former comrade, El Chancho Che Guevara, in the 7th Bolivarian Circle of Hell. And yes, people, you are reading that right. I actually bought this t-shirt way back in 2006, long before Castro died. And of course, I'm going to be celebrating, along with the thousands of other Cuban exiles in well, not exactly in Miami, but I'm going to be celebrating with them in spirit, if you know what I mean. You know, I find it interesting that out there in this world, there are people out there who die too young, and then there are people out there who live just way too long. And Fidel Castro was certainly one of the ones who lived way too long, all the way into his all the way into the age of 90. Ironically, though, he died on Black Friday, which of course is the most capitalist day in the year, at least in America it is. And what I don't understand out of all of this is that what I don't understand is all the praise that is being heaped upon Castro, not only by the left, but by celebrities such as Sean Penn, Michael Moore, and even former President Jimmy Carter. But not only them, but even that of the mainstream media. They've even gone to call him one of the greatest men of the 20th century. Now, you got to bear in mind that there's a difference between actual condolences towards those that mourn, which of course is appropriate empathy, as opposed to that of actually praising Castro, the latter of which ignores history and the multitudes more who have been and or continue to be hurt by the Castro regime. I think the Washington Post put it best when they said he was among, quote unquote, he was among the world's most repressive leaders, a self-appointed president for life who banned free speech, freedom of assembly, and a free press, and executed or jailed thousands of political opponents. Under Castro, Havana became something of a Marxist Disneyland, a shiny, happy veneer over something much uglier, end quote. And indeed it was ugly. Fidel Castro himself was responsible for the deaths of thousands of innocents. He was also responsible for the unjust imprisonment of thousands of more. He persecuted Christians. He persecuted capitalists. He persecuted democratic activists. He even persecuted homosexuals and basically anyone else he didn't like. He and his subordinates were responsible for murdering fathers, mothers, and even little children. Since 1959, over 2 million Cubans have fled the island, many at a great peril to their lives, and many even dying along the way to escape Castro's communist regime and flee to the land of the free. The regime of Fidel Castro summarily executed those who merely disagreed with him. They didn't necessarily even have to fight against him. They were just, they basically weren't for him. He absolutely refused to relinquish power for over 50 years. And then when he did so, it was only to his brother, who had always been at his side. Even then, he continued to imprison, beat, and execute individuals whose only crime was to object to his brutality. His contributions to history, as it were, his contributions to his country are, when you really get down to it, are minor compared to the poverty, the brutality, and the statism which Castro wrought upon Cuba and its peoples. I've heard quite a few quotes credited to him, but the one that sticks out the most is that of him saying, "History will absolve me." Well, one thing I gotta say about that, Castro's murders are not justified by his revolution. Fidel Castro is dead, and the world is a better place without him. All I have to say about that is Viva Cuba Libre, And now it's Robert Mugabe's turn.